iOS 18, which comes out in 2024, is said to be Apple's biggest software update in years. And the reason for this being that Apple is said to be building their own AI. You see, even though Siri was the first integrated smart assistant on a smartphone back in 2011, it failed to improve over the years. And today, it seriously lags behind other assistants like the Google Assistant or Samsung's Bixby when it comes to accuracy, contextual awareness, and what it can do. A few days ago, my iPhone alarm went off. I asked Siri to turn it off, only to find Siri on my HomePod rather than my iPhone activate, telling me that there are no alarms running. Yeah, that's how smart Siri is. And with the rise of large language models like ChatGPT and Google Bard, which are light years ahead of even the Google Assistant, Siri truly feels like something from the Stone Age. Well, this is all about to change, as Tim Cook has recently stated that Apple has been working on their own generative AI tech for years, with one employee even stating that there has been a lot of anxiety internally at Apple, as they had a pretty big miss with not predicting the future and the rise of large language models like ChatGPT. According to Mark Gurman, Apple's own LLM is internally called Ajax, aka Apple GPT, with Craig Federighi, Eddie Q, and John Giandrea being the three big pushers of Apple's LLM, with a spending coming close to $1 billion per year. That's no joke. Apple is clearly very determined to not just overhaul Siri completely, but also compete with top LLMs like ChatGPT and Google Bard, which is all set to happen in iOS 18. Leaker TechRev also reports something similar here, that Apple is planning to completely overhaul Siri and make it into an extremely powerful AI app with an unveiling happening at WWDC 2024. Strangely enough, he also reports that this new version of Siri will be exclusive to the iPhone 16s and newer, which, if true, I do find as a very odd choice. I mean, sure, this will help Apple sell more iPhone 16s, but at a cost of the majority of Apple's user base lacking behind when compared to other LLMs, which in turn would just cause users who are not upgrading to the iPhone 16s to simply download the free ChatGPT app rather than paying $1,000 to upgrade their iPhone. So I'm a bit skeptical when it comes to Apple limiting their next-gen version of Siri to just the iPhone 16s. At the same time, we do know that Apple likes to process everything on device due to their commitment to user privacy, which could explain why the iPhone 16s would be the only ones capable of this, as the Apple A18 and A18 Pro chips could indeed be specialized for LLMs and generative AI, similar to what Snapdragon has been doing with their upcoming Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. However, having all processing be on-device only will severely limit Apple's ability to improve their AI model, especially if they want to compete with the likes of OpenAI, Microsoft, and Google, who all run their AIs on the cloud, and therefore they can be rapidly improved. And speaking of rapid improvements, we'd be making a lot of improvements to our own app, Wallpapers. There's a massive version 1.1 update coming this week that will introduce a ton of features that you guys have requested. And in the meantime, you can check out our first 2 new packs for December that we dropped last Friday, with 2 more packs launching this Friday too. Here's a quick tease of both. Now, when it comes to Apple's AI Move, this will indeed be a huge update, turning Siri from a pretty basic voice assistant to a powerful AI that could be just as powerful, if not even more powerful than ChatGPT, given Apple's vast resources that they have been pouring into this project. The good news, however, is that these big AI changes won't just be coming to Siri. It's been reported that Messages would also take advantage of these AI advancements, with a much improved autocomplete function, something that we did already see updated in iOS 17, and something that is likely to get even better. On top of this, Apple is also said to be looking at integrating their own generative AI into a lot of their apps. Tools like Xcode are said to be updated to allow developers to write apps much faster, as the AI would then generate code automatically based on what the developer needs, similar to the already powerful capabilities of ChatGPT or Microsoft's GitHub Copilot, which already offers autocomplete suggestions. And aside from Xcode, most Apple apps are said to be updated too. Apple Music is said to be getting AI-generated playlists, similar to what Spotify introduced this year with OpenAI, and then Pages and Keynote are also said to allow you to automatically create slides and summarize briefs, something that Microsoft already does, in Word and PowerPoint, which means that all of these changes will also be coming to the Mac and not just the iPhone. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing Apple adding generative AI to even more apps. For example, when I recently went to the Snapdragon Summit in Hawaii in October, I got to test the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and really got to see a number of ways in which Android phones will be using generative AI in 2024. In one of these demos, I could zoom out on an image and the on-device generative AI would then fill in the missing detail, essentially turning a regular shot into an ultra-wide shot. Apple could add this to their Photos app. Then in another demo, I was able to generate images using Stable Diffusion completely on-device in less than a second. Apple could also allow such functionality and let users generate their own wallpapers, for example. Although I don't expect their quality to come close to what you would find in high-quality wallpaper apps like our own, but this could be a possibility. Like, I have been testing different AI models myself for the past year or so, and I've had beta access to ChatGPT, Midjourney. I've also tried Google's Bard AI, Dolly Mini, so I've tried quite a few, including some advanced upscalers like Topaz Gigapixel AI and a few more. So I'm quite familiar with the power and true capabilities of AI, and I have to say, I cannot wait for Apple to bring all of that to their own products. For example, let me show you something really cool. Let's say that you want to upscale an image. Photoshop would just analyze the missing pixels and kind of guess where they would be in order to upscale the image. If you use something like Gigapixel AI, it would actually look at each part of the image and squares and then recreate those using AI. What this means is that you actually get detail that wasn't even there in the first place. Like, it's honestly mad. Apple could integrate something like this into Photos and then allow you to increase the resolution of your photos or fix blurry areas very quickly and easily. So there are a ton of approaches that Apple could take here. And the best part is that AI is not going to be the only upgrade in iOS 18. You might have heard that RCS will be coming to iOS 18 too, which will seriously improve text messaging between iOS and Android by allowing for read receipts, high-resolution images and videos, audio files, and more importantly, it will let us use Wi-Fi rather than our cellular network for sending messages. So even though we'll still see green bubbles when texting someone who's using an Android, the experience would be far more similar to texting someone who uses an iPhone. Not only that, but sideloading is also said to be coming to EU iPhone users as soon as iOS 17.2, which would allow for users to install apps from outside the App Store, meaning that Fortnite could be making a comeback. And I do believe that if sideloading is received well, it could make its way into iOS 18 for the entire user base, not just EU users. The main concern with installing apps outside of the App Store has always been that users could easily download malware and compromise their phones. But the thing is that this is how it's always been on the Mac. On the Mac, you can download apps from the App Store, but if you want, you can also download apps from outside the App Store. Apple has a smart security in place called Gatekeeper, which by default only allows you to install apps from the App Store and from certified developers. This means that if you download Photoshop, for example, from Adobe's website, it would install with no problems at all, as Adobe is a certified developer. And then if you install an app from a developer that's not certified, you can still do it, you'll just have to manually allow that from the settings. Apple could easily have a similar implementation on iOS, which would make everyone's lives much easier, as developers won't have to pay Apple's mandatory 15 to 30% cuts, and then users will be able to install whatever apps they want. All in all, iOS 18 is definitely looking like one of the biggest updates that Apple has ever released, and I for sure am really looking forward to it. But let me know your thoughts on iOS 18 and AI in iOS 18 in general. I'm Daniel, this means ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.